Hi, I'm Stephen Vizinczey, and today we are going to talk about Casanova's memoirs. And my friend Claire Parker, I gave her the book, and she read all
12 volumes.
All 12 volumes, and I asked her to ask me questions about the book, because it's easier to talk to another person than to the camera, for me at any rate. What I would like to say in introduction, that French literature is unique in the sense that in the 18th century it had two great writers who wrote truthfully about themselves, saying why or discreditable they were, or how stupid they were, and anything you could hate him for, because they believed that telling the truth about themselves was more important to understand better their own nature and human nature than just writing about themselves. They both Rousseau and Casanova looked at themselves as a specimen of the human race, and what their particular character or life could say about human nature and human beings in general. Claire, I would like to ask you to ask me what you think is interesting about him.
Casanova hopes that his readers will have found that he has more virtues than faults. What would you say his virtues are?
His virtues are, first of all, his honesty. He wants to understand himself and record truthfully what he is and what he is capable of. Mm-hmm. That's his main virtue. Now, this virtue is impossible without honesty, without vanity. Mm-hmm. Anybody who is vain cannot ever be a good writer, because as Mark Twain said, you have all the villainy in yourself. He could write well about wicked characters because he has all the wickedness in himself. Each one of us has all the vices the human race is capable of, and the question is how you let it now. So if you are curious, and you are more curious and more important for you to understand than to look good, then you could write things which really...
You say that Casanova wasn't vain.
Correct.
And he liked to look good. And
he liked to look
many pages in the memoirs are devoted to very detailed descriptions of dress, of hairstyles. He goes into great detail, even more sometimes than Balzac. So yes. You wouldn't put that down to vanity. Would you put that down to his powers of observation?
He put that down. He wanted to look the part. Mm-hmm. A very interesting example of his keenness on being elegant is when the Inquisition comes to arrest him, the Red Dead Inquisition. He has his hairdresser do his hair and get his good clothes on, while outside the room where the Inquisitor's chief police is with him are 30 to 40 bravos of the Inquisition to make sure he's not going to escape.
But he had to look good.
Yeah.
He had to look the part. When he was a very young man, still in Venice, he follows many pursuits, violinist, and at one point he wants to be a soldier. We don't hear anything about his soldiering, but we've got several pages about what a soldier wears.
Yeah, what a soldier should look like.
Yes, very great detail. So we've talked about his virtues. Does he try to hide his faults?
No, except he doesn't see many of them in fault.
No, he doesn't. He describes himself as a professional libertine.
Correct.
With great pride.
Yes.
Because that is the way he is.
Yes.
Yes. So, by any standards, Casanova was a very widely travelled man. But in the 18th century, that was extensive, and he went
incredible.
as far as Russia. In which country would you say he was the happiest?
In Italy.
In Italy, yes.
His home country, yes.
And his unhappiest?
In England.
In England, yes. In England he meets La Charpillon,
yes.
sounding name, which is English.
Yeah,
and she leads them a very merry dance.
He's already no longer young when he comes to England, and he is easily duped by a girl, what's her name?
Charpillon.
Charpillon, because Charpillon is just teasing him, and we make love that day. And
she never lets him make love to her.
Never makes love.
But they flee. Her mother and her grandmother fleece him. She gets her revenge. He gets her revenge in the end.
Yeah.
She puts up resistance time and time again, and he finds her making love with her hairdresser. So of course he flies into a rage, but he gets his revenge by buying a parrot.
Yes, and he teaches the parrot to learn that Champion is a greater whore than his mother.
That's right. And it becomes celebrated, this parrot,
yes.
Because quite a lot of people know who La Charpillon is.
Yeah. And he manages to make money out of it, because this is a famous prostitute, and the parrot saying in French.
I understand it's in French.
French. Yes. That Champion is the greater whore than his mother.
Than her mother.
That he is able to sell the parrot for 50 guineas.
Fortune at the
in
time.
18th century, 50 guineas, 5,000 pounds,
At least.
or more.
At least.
More than 5,000 pounds.
So he's widely travelled, and he's followed several professions, hasn't he?
Yes, but his main profession was with which he gambling, and that's how he keeps himself alive and in good.
So he didn't win every time, did he? He lost a lot.
He lost a lot of money, but he also made a lot of money. I mean, he could finance traveling. So you realize that the way he described the coaches, which went thousands of miles from London to from Paris to Vienna to St. Petersburg, Moscow, St. Petersburg, that he had to. They were very comfortable.
He had to have
money, and he made this money. They paid. They killed time in the carriage by paying cars in the carriages.
So was he lucky by gambling? How did he make his money then? Did he win more than he lost?
I think he cheated a lot. She cheated a lot.
So he was taught by masters, because
yes.
some of the people he was playing with
were card sharks, and they cheated him.
So he learned.
Yeah, but the main thing about all this is that we talk about the person, because if you give a short summary of somebody, that's the most interesting thing. But in fact, he describes the way that is life, how life was lived. And really, if you would like to, I don't think there is a single English book which would give you an idea how the Defoe comes close.
18th century life.
What was 18th century life?
Yes.
But if you leave Casanova, you know it.
That's right. You have chocolate in the morning.
Yes.
You have chocolate. He lived through his senses, and he admits that, gratifying his senses,
Yeah.
whether it was sexual or food or wine. We've talked about how he devotes pages to dress, but also to food.
Also to food, but I think some of it is affectation, because he's a genius, and actually what he spends most time on, according to the book, which is the most persuasive evidence, in figuring things how happen and how things work. About the love affairs, it's very fascinating about it, that much of them has to do with, it was very complicated to get a tete-a-tete.
Yeah.
And
exchange of many letters beforehand.
Exchanging many letters, and you had to be afraid that it was a trap. And one thing that people did, well-off people did, is that they sent their daughters to the nunnery before they're getting married, to keep them out of trouble, which of course didn't really work.
No, of course not. But let's talk a little bit about his lovers. Clearly he was attracted by beauty. He would never make love with what he would call an ugly woman.
Yeah,
but more important, or maybe equally important, was intelligence.
Correct.
He valued intelligence very highly.
The beauty was the woman's beauty was to catch his eye.
That was the introduction.
To catch his eye.
And if there was nothing more than beauty, then it wouldn't last very long.
Correct.
But if the woman was intelligent,
yes,
that's what he valued. When he goes to Russia, like every country he goes to, he usually meets the sovereign, like
Catherine
Catherine the Great. Catherine the Great he describes as not a particularly beautiful woman, but with a huge intelligence, and he has very long conversations with her.
This is how history changes the roles. At the time when Casanova saw Catherine the Great, people thought, what a great honor for Casanova to seeing the Catherine the Great.
Empress, yeah.
Today, you would think that how lucky Catherine the Great was to have a long conversation
with Casanova.
With Casanova.
He was. He had a reputation. His reputation went before him as he traveled throughout Europe.
That's also a very important thing, because he was, Casanova himself was a nobody. His father died early, and he did everything in the world. He was a drunk and juvenile delinquent, really, but then he started to study, and if you are down and you don't have many chances in life, you can get great inspiration for reading Casanova memoirs, because there you know that if you have talent and education and intelligence, you can get to the greatest people and establish yourself. He was certainly a non-religious person.
But when he was sent under the leads in Venice, arrested by the Inquisition, what was that for? Was it for blasphemy or
it
immorality?
Was for blasphemy, immorality, you name it.
He was guilty.
He was guilty. And he had, he also said that anybody who believes that Jesus Christ existed was crazy. So that was a serious crack rage. And if you ever go to Venice, you must see the leads.
You can visit it.
You visit the leads.
Yeah.
It is the most horrible prison in the world. Not like today, you know, you want to make sure that they have a comfortable. First of all, they were like monkeys. Especially for a tall person, couldn't stand up. in the it was too low. It was, you know, 1.5 meters
That was terrible.
high.
Oh.
So when you go, if you visit Venice and go to the Let's, which is behind St. Mark's Square, behind the Doge's Palace, you go into these horrible places and you understand the cruelty of the times.
When you talk of course that was thanks to the Inquisition that he was arrested and sent to the Leads, but when he goes to Spain, where of course the Inquisition was very operative, it seemed to be very intrusive in ordinary people's lives, because when he finds lodging, he asks for a key to lock his room, and he's denied it, and when he asks why, he says so that the inquisitors can check up that the woman, if there was a woman with him, was his wife, and if woe betide them if they weren't married. So that's how intrusive the Inquisition was in Spain.
Yes.
Very, and he must have found that very...
it was never like that tough.
No, in Venice. No, it wasn't.
No.
When you read the memoirs, Casanova, he throws out name after name after name, counts, dukes, nobles of every rank, and you can't keep up with them. And it's and sometimes there are notes for these people, so you look up the notes and you're none the wiser. So it interrupts the flow of the book. So what would your advice be to somebody reading the memoirs? Ignore the notes?
Ignore the notes.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a fantastic, this is by Hopkins University Press, by William B. Tusk. I think this is the best translation of his memoirs.
But you would advise readers
to ignore the notes.
I think that's probably
So it was both the best translation and also a good indication how academia trying to kill the joy of literature with a number of notes which doesn't really tell you anything relevant. Because in any great book, the important thing are not the footnotes, but the fact that anybody you read about it, that's why they were great writers. You will know people personally, the kind of characters they describe. That's what I mean by great writer. That's what great writer means. That even if you read centuries before you, when you read the book, you find the characters they write about. You know them personally because you know these kind of people, these kind of characters. That's what makes them exciting. And that's why there are far fewer books than they claim to be.
He writes his memoirs in French.
Yeah.
And the reason for that, he says, is that French is more widely used than his native Italian. That must strike a chord with you, because you could have stayed in Italy when you fled Hungary, where you were very well received. But you wanted to write in English, because it was more universal.
Yes. So I decided if I have to change languages, I want to write in English rather than Italian. If there hadn't been a Hungarian Revolution, I probably stayed in Hungary and never would have wanted too much, because under communist dictatorship there was no chance to write anything about truthfully. And in fact I realized that why I was in Hungary, and that's why after the failure of the revolutions I wanted to leave, because I thought that if I'm going to write books about seeing how horrible communism is, it would be, out of date as soon as communism collapses. It would be like writing a book trying to prove that the earth is not flat. And, this is a hopeless thing. And although society comes into everything you write, and in every good writer's book, they have to, they are really the framework in which human beings have to live their own life. you cannot write leaving out society. On the other hand, you cannot make too much of it, because the human nature is pretty unchangeable, and but the character's human nature is not.
That's right.
So if for people to read you even after you're dead, you need to write about characters truthfully, because if you write about them truthfully, they will be recognized in another age.
This is the 18th century. But what you're saying is these memoirs will never go out of date.
Never, because you read this book, in every other page you find, forget about the footnote, the name might be strange to you, it may be in a language you don't understand and you cannot pronounce, but as soon as you get behind the names, the character, they are people who you know in you personally know.
One of the characters which springs to mind is someone who is incredibly gullible, and that is Madame Ouffret.
Yes.
Who is completely deluded, and Casanova goes along with it.
Yeah.
That
was his most
incantations.
That was his most.
He wanted to become a man. It sounds very reprehensible how he strung her along. And
yes,
of course
correct.
She gave money. He's not ashamed of it. Do you think perhaps because she enjoyed his company so much that he was giving her pleasure by going along with all her delusions?
Correct.
So he couldn't back out of it. Do you think there might have been an element of that he was actually pleasing her? Because what he did was terrible, really.
He pleased her because Madame Ouffret sent him money.
Indeed.
I'm sorry, in Hungarian there is no he and she, and I still make these mistakes.
Right.
Not in writing, but when I talk.
Madame Ouffret.
Madame Ouffret was always sending him money.
Mm-hmm.
So if he was in Germany, or not in England, but
so she was a good source of income and a very
yes,
regular one.
and he always gave him money.
Mm-hmm. So he strung her along.
She strung her along. And again, you see, this is what we benefit from.
Mm-hmm.
That he didn't lie.
No, he never lies.
He never lied, and so you know from his memoirs also what horrible things human beings are capable of.
Indeed, yeah.
Because he was a crook, a card cheat.
But he had a fabulous personality.
That he
was incredibly intelligent.
Yeah, he was a genius.
He was a genius with great charm.
Yes.
And people were attracted to him.
We should mention that all the great writers in later, even a straight-laced person like Goethe, thought that he was the greatest writer of the 18th century.
Probably right.
And if you get this book, you will see that the greatest critic, Pritchett, the great English critic, and Edmund Wilson, all the great critics and writers said, so it's not I am telling you or Claire telling you that he was a great writer. Everybody who knows anything about literature, every literary authority think that Casanova was one of the greatest writers of the 18th century.
It's also incredibly entertaining. It's very informative, but it isn't entertaining. Would you agree?
Yes.
Are you going to wind up now?
Yeah, well, I hope you listen to me the next time as well. And I hope in the meantime you try to get this book and in this translation, and this will keep you happy for months. And I must mention now, because they talk about mental health, that in order to have mental health, you need to read people who tell you the world as it is, who help you to understand how life is, so you don't get crazy because you are not perfect. Many young people commit suicide because they think they are not perfect, they should kill themselves. And if you read great writers instead of watching rubbishy television, the mental health in this country would be greatly improved.